Mm-mm-mm. Hello, everyone. I'm going to go live on Instagram. Get everyone in here. I got to get my earbuds in. Come on, Wi Fi. Don't play with your girl. My Instagram is a little frozen. All right, let me go back. I'm going to come out of here. Oh, I'm not even in Wi Fi, so let's try that again. Doop, boop there. And now we're going to go here and let the Facebook peoples in the building. Yes. All right, we are live on Instagram. Hello, Instagram world. Welcome. It's time for this week's episode of Conscious Conversations, Dear Edward edition. Right. Awesome. Okay, I'm coming back over here. All right. Awesome. Got this right there. Oh, let's see. Oops, I was like, well, I don't hear you because I have my headphones in. Let's see. Can you guys hear me on Instagram? Let's see. Okay, you got it. Hi, Terry. Terry, what's up, T3IP? Can you hear me on Instagram? Let me know. Whew. Let's see. Do I invite you to join? Maybe it doesn't know I'm not. Okay, wait, there you go. Boop, there you go. I think I just, there we go. I'm trying to invite you. Can y'all hear me on here? I don't hear you. You're muted. Let's see. There you go.
Hello there,
Can
everybody.
you hear me good?
I hear you well. I'm the problem I'm having is Instagram for some reason isn't loading. Give me 1 second to load.
Mm-hmm.
Instagram is not being my friend today.
Mine either.
I shall not be defeated. Maybe I'll try on my phone.
Maybe I should move you guys over
It
here.
doesn't have you. I don't have you live on Instagram.
No, I had to go back. I had to go off, so I'm going to go live again. Hey, Dr. Brenda. Welcome.
Hey, Dr. Brenda. Thank you for coming on in.
Okay.
Long time no see.
I think this is going to work now.
Long time no see.
Okay, there we go. There it is.
All right, I will.
I totally need 2 screens, though. I'm away from home, you guys. Wait, is it not? Okay. I thought I went live, and it looks, why is it? I keep hitting it. Sorry, there was an error with your broadcast. No, Instagram is an error with you.
Yeah, I think Instagram is having some issues today. Because I'm not even. I mean, my phone is working, but my iPad is not.
That's why we had to change it up and be like, Instagram.
IG, come on, IG.
Y'all just get to watch because You be acting up. Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Let's see what happens.
I'm excited to talk about this week's episode.
Such good stuff. Nope. All right, I'm gonna reboot my phone and see what happens.
Oh, maybe I'll do that too.
What's the girl do? In the meantime,
Hello out there. We're rocking and rolling here.
mm-hmm.
Rocking and rolling and rocking.
I see folks are coming in. Get on in here, coming on in, making your way in to talk about Dear Edward.
Oh, that'd be good to do. Let me see.
Let's see.
Instagram is not the move.
You rebooted. It's still doing the thing.
Yeah, it's not on this iPad. It's not doing, but I can use my phone. It's not enjoying. Okay. That's all right. Be like that, Dan. I got devices. Ooh.
Almost there. It's checking connection. Nope.
No.
Instagram is not broadcasting. It keeps saying it's an error with your broadcast.
Let me see if I can go live.
Okay.
And then I'll invite you in, and yeah, let's try that.
Okay. It says I'm live now. It just went.
Oh, okay.
You see me?
Not yet.
Okay. I think it's now okay. All the little buttons are popping up. Hey, Kwame. Welcome.
Okay, it's not showing you live.
We got T3IP fam. Okay, so it's not showing me as live?
Yeah, it's not showing you as live on IG. And then I'm getting no internet connection, but I've got all the internet connection in this joint. I've got all the internet.
Anjave, do you see that I'm live?
Oh, there it is. It just popped in.
Okay. There we go.
IG is not being friendly.
Thanks for the smiles, Kwame. And thanks for your work in helping to produce this segment. These interns are saving my life 50 times a day. I should say, no, they saving my time saving my life 10 times 10 times
10
a day.
10 times 10.
10 times 10. Hey, Kristen V. Hey, Noah. For those of you who are on Instagram, come on over to youtube.com/Shamika Chronicles, where you can join the conversation where we are talking about Apple TV Plus's Dear Edward. So if you want to chime in and join the conversation, you can do that on YouTube, or you can just watch us and listen along here on Instagram. The messages go by so fast on Instagram, so it's hard to see what everybody's saying. But on Instagram, we can actually take time to read what you wrote share it with the world, and talk back to you.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, yeah, I'll get on Instagram whenever it gives me the prompt that I can. It's oh, there you go. You're live. Yay! And you got invited to join. Yay! And then I'm gonna go live with Shanika. Yay! All right.
Yay! Oh,
All
my
right.
earbud is
No,
not
we're
on.
good. No, we're good.
No,
That was me.
it's not in my ear. Oh no, it's me.
Okay. All right. Hey, everybody on IG. We got it going on. We got it going on. Hey, Robin. Hey, Glenda, Kwame, Dr. B, Terry. I see you all shouting out in the chat. Um, we are pulling this together. Instagram has been having some challenges today. Like I felt like I tried to look earlier. I do my 2 second stroll. Like whatever comes up in those first couple of things, that's what I see.
Mm-hmm.
But it kept saying I can't. Screen's not refreshed or something. But um, so anyway, not sure if that's what's popping on IG. If it's me or them. But glad to be here. Hey, those of you on Instagram.
We'll get rid of the echo in
Shanika,
one
if you get a
second.
second, if you can, or maybe I'll write it in here.
There we go.
Join us on
Got
YouTube.
it. Okay, yeah, if you write it, then I can pin it. I had to get y'all in my ear to get rid of that echo. Oh, the folks are in. Miss Glenda, we got Robin. Hey, Peak Sunday Radio. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
It's Shamika Chronicles. That's it.
Yes, so it's youtube.com/Shamika Chronicles. Pink Sunday Radio, I love what you're doing on your channel on Instagram. Thank you so much for all the love that you are giving. Thank you for being a part of the Pink Posse. Just wanted to shout you out. Thank you so much. I love the stuff that you post. Shall we?
Radio.
Oh
Hey,
yes, I'm going to go
hey,
ahead and
Terry. All right.
pin that comment.
Let's
Just did it. Shall we? Shall we? Shall we? Shall we?
yeah, let's get it going.
All
Let's
right.
get it going.
Well, 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 welcome everyone. You are tuned in. We are finally ready to have conscious conversations where we have deep, deep conversations. Why are you laughing?
No, you said finally ready.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. No, y'all, for real. We're here. We're here. But yeah, this is conscious conversations where we have deep conversations and we expand consciousness by talking about the shows that I get to be a part of. So first of all, who am I? For those of you who are new to us, I am Shamika Cotton, and I am one of the co-hosts here for Conscious Conversations. But I also play Cora on Dear Edward, which is on Apple TV Plus, and I am joined by my co-host.
Hey, I'm Reverend Cherie. Just delighted to be here. I am a spiritual being here put on this planet to beam light and to inspire and incite you to find the light within and let it out. It's what I do best. And I'm glad to be here to talk about Dear Edward because I love television. There it is. It's out the bag. I've said it. And I do love television, and I've always looked at TV and cinema and just entertainment with an eye for what can I learn from this. And so I enjoy stories with some depth and some context and compelling characters. That's me.
Well, this show, Dear Edward, definitely has depth and it definitely has compelling characters, lots of
Mhm.
characters. We are talking about episode 7 of Dear Edward, and this episode is called Folklore. That is the
Folklore.
title of this week's episode. And I think that that's an interesting title. Rev Cherie,
Mhm.
what does folklore mean?
So folklore is like the story of your in your culture. Like it's the stories that come out of your culture. And then immediately when I saw the title of this episode, I'm thinking I'm going to get some backstories. I'm going to get
Mm-hmm.
stories from the context of of how you see them. Um, One thing you might not know is that we're all telling ourselves a story, right? Like you think that things are really happening and the way they're happening is the story, but you're telling yourself a story about what's going on in your life. The events of your life, the events in the world, all of that is neutral. You're the one that you're putting the judgment on it. You're telling yourself a story about it. And we don't know that until someone wakes us up from our story. And then you say, oh, there was a different way to look at this. But if you start with what story am I telling myself about this? So not to go down that rabbit hole too deep, but that's kind of what I saw in this episode, that there were some stories that were being told, and we got to understand a little bit more about that. That's how I saw the tie-in with the title.
Nice. So I'm looking forward to talking more about that as we talk about all the different storylines happening in Dear Edward. So before we get started, some of y'all may be new to the show. Maybe you haven't had a chance to catch up. So we will give you a quick rundown about who's who and what's what. So first of all, Dear Edward, it is a show about a 12-year-old boy who is the lone survivor of a commercial airplane crash. And so this show follows Edward and the lives of other people who lost someone who was on that flight. Right. And so this show is based on a novel by the same name. The novel is called Dear Edward and is written by Ann Napolitano. And so the TV show that's on Apple TV Plus was created by Jason Katims. And Jason Katims is part of the producing team that brought you shows like Friday Night Lights. Right. And so if you know anything about Jason Katims, he always has a wonderful ensemble of characters and actors in the shows and in the stories that he tells. All right. So I'll get started with breaking down the 7 major stories that we are following right now. So first we have Edward, right? That is played by Colin O'Brien. And so Edward, as we says, he lost his mother, he lost his father and his brother on the flight. Edward goes to live with his aunt, and his aunt is named Lacey. And so Lacey not only lost her big sister in the flight, but she also has been struggling with fertility issues. And her husband, John, went in the last episode, the episode before this one, went to the crash site to take pictures so that Edward could find closure. And so, as we saw last week, and we'll talk about it again for this week, Lacey was not very happy with John doing that. And John is not very happy with Lacey allowing pregnant Linda to stay with them in their house. So we'll talk about that. Linda was, she lost her baby's daddy on the flight. Right.
So wait a minute. So we're looking at how these characters are intersecting, right? So there's Edward, who's our central person. What's your word for that?
The titular character.
The titular character.
I love saying that word. The titular character is Edward.
And so there's Edward, his aunt, who's now his caregiver, right? That's his primary caregiver, and her husband. So this Edward jumps in. This crash crashes into people's life in progress, right? So we get to it's what all the juiciness comes in, is because their lives, the crash is now we're seeing the aftermath of that crash. So that couple, can you imagine that a couple that is not able to have kids, there's drama there, right? And we find out that she wants to keep trying. He wants to maybe think about adopting, and so you can see that these miscarriages have been impacting their marriage. And you can, anybody that you may know who's gone through that kind of a challenge, you can, I'm sure they have some stories about how it impacted their relationship. And then, so she's got a mama thing going on. And I think that's kind of what draws her to, it's Linda, right? Linda, who, of course.
Oh, yes.
Late, yeah.
Yes.
Lost the love of her life in the crash. So, and she's literally alone, like all alone. His family didn't know her and was weird. She doesn't have anybody except for now Lacey. And so Lacey's got a mothering thing happening, and that's really interesting and kind of cool to see. But yeah, so she's in there. Her husband is not pleased with the new addition to their household that he didn't have a buy-in on.
Yeah. And last episode, he said, "There's no room for me." So that was a very poignant comment that we'll talk about more from this week's episode. Another
Yeah.
storyline we have here is Dee Dee, who was played by Connie Britton. So Dee Dee and her daughter Zoe, or is it Zoe, played by Audrey Corsa. So Dee Dee's husband Charlie was on the flight. And so post death, so after his death, she discovers that Charlie had a whole nother life. But not only did he have a whole nother life, he is broke. They are accustomed to living a lavish life, and
Lavish lifestyle. Yeah.
and now they're struggling to make ends meet, and so now her daughter and they're left to pick up the pieces. So that's another
But
one of the
she's
storylines.
still hiding the financial challenges from her daughter.
She hasn't come out all the way about it, but she's trying to
Yeah.
ease her out. Like, maybe you don't want to get that expensive sleeping bag.
Right. Right. Right.
Hmm. Another storyline is we have the storyline with Edward Shea, played by Eva Ariel Binder, and the mystery girl Mahira, played by Jenna Qureshi. And so Mahira is the girl that Edward's brother was dating, unbeknownst to Edward. Right. And so in the last episode, she mentions that she sent letters to Edward, and Edward's like, I never got those letters. But remember, Lacey, Edward's aunt, decided not to show him all the letters that had been coming for him. So we're looking to see how that
Yeah.
plays out.
I can't wait. So the letters haven't come back in a major way yet, but he's getting a lot of mail because people are reaching out. It's what people do.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see how those letters play in. And Shay and Edward have developed such a wonderful little relationship, and now they have this little, like it's kind of like a what is it when you have three people in it?
A love triangle.
Um,
This show is
yeah, love
right
triangle.
with love triangles. It's so many love
Yeah.
triangles in this show.
Yes, 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 yeah. So there's an interesting thing because Edward is connected to Mahira because she was most connected to his brother,
Hmm.
and so he's having some, again. Why is not this boy in therapy? Like it is. I guess that would end the drama, but this little boy needs to be in therapy like nobody's business.
Hmm.
Projecting now into that relationship with his brother and his secret girlfriend. Now let's talk about Ben. So there was a man in the crash, Sam. I mean
No.
Ben. Ben was the one in the
Yes.
crash,
Hmm.
right? Ben was
Yes.
the one in the crash, and we didn't. He kind of that storyline unfolded after a few episodes.
It took a
And
little while to get into it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and we see that he had a close friend named Sam who was grieving him in the grief group, and Sam is married to a beautiful woman, and he's there just his job was to pack up Ben's stuff
Hmm.
and clear out his storage locker, and he met this guy Trent who had some stuff in that storage locker, because Ben had a life, right? And he had friends, and this friend was storing stuff, and you can see immediately an attraction between Sam and the friend named Trent. You can
Hmm.
see an attraction there. So it's like, wait a minute, Ben, what was really going on? I mean, wait a minute, Sam, what was really going on with you and Ben? Like, was there a relationship there, a sexual, romantic relationship there? And so we see that, and we learned and discovered that they had a kind of an unrequited love for one another, but they hadn't acted on it. But
Hmm.
Sam is absolutely having a crisis of the soul as it
Hmm.
relates to his sexuality, and we'll talk about that one today too.
Yeah. And he's also married, by the way.
Yeah, married to a beautiful woman. Hmm.
Yes, exactly. And then we have a storyline close to my heart, Adriana, Bex, and Kojo. So here is another one of the love triangles of the show. Adriana is torn between her political aspirations and the love triangle that she finds herself in. All right. So first of all, so Kojo. Kojo is from Ghana, and he's the uncle of Bex. So Adriana, she lost her grandmother. Her grandmother was his beloved councilwoman, Congresswoman Washington, played by the wonderful Linda Gravatt. And so Councilwoman Washington was lost in the crash, as well as Beck's mother. And Bex is about, what is she, about 8 years old or so? I can't remember how old
Yeah,
her
yeah, she's
character is.
young. She's so young.
Yeah. And so Kojo and Bex are now where we are in the story. They're headed back to Ghana, and it's expeditiously because Adriana's old boo, right, the Reverend Eric, expedited their visas in order to get Kojo out of the story so that he could
Mm-hmm.
get back to rekindling his love with Adriana.
It's a
But
lot of little triangles in that, and just
that's
in
what
their
I'm
story, there's a lot of little
saying.
triangles. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But before Kojo leaves, as we saw last week, they had a moment of comfort in the sheets, right? So yeah, we're having a lot of comforting during
And
grief,
I didn't
you know.
know how I felt about that. Like
Okay. Yeah.
it's a complicated little thing there happening. But
Mm,
I think that it's interesting because I think Adriana is torn between her aspirations, the love, and I think also the desire to flee all of this. Because remember that
mm-hmm.
when her grandmother told her, "You're next. It's time for you to step up," she was like, "I'm out of here." So I think
Right.
the flee thing is a part, like leaving is a part of her, is still a part of her consciousness, and I think that
Mm-hmm.
comes up too in this part of the episode, in this episode, folklore.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then there
And
is
go
the other little other little messy triangle
ahead. Mm-hmm.
with Steve and Amanda. Um and Amanda's fiance died on the flight, and his brother, they had been estranged, comes to the grief group, and there's conflict because her brother, the brothers had beef. Her fiance had been addicted to drugs before and had taken the family through drama, and the brother was enough. Stephen had enough,
Mm-hmm.
and so when his last interaction with his brother was of heavy rejection, and so they had a real tenuous relationship, encounters rather, until it ended up where they slept together, and now he's trying to ghost her. Like, it's weird, and he's dealing with his feelings about his guilt over the way that he
Mm-hmm.
treated his brother the last time he saw him.
Mm-hmm.
But that's them, right? Those are our characters. Unless somebody else
Mm-hmm.
pops into that grief group, I think we got our group.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you all have been brought up to speed to where we find ourselves today. We open up this episode with the really tender friendship between Edward and Shay. Right? Remember that part? And Edward, so for those who don't know, and just to remind those who do know, Edward has been given permission to sleep on the floor at his neighbor's house, Shay's house, right? And it's totally harmless, innocuous, platonic. And it's just because he's so used to having his brother around, right? And so he's used to having someone that he's able to sleep with. So, but now he's discovered his brother's girlfriend. And so we find him texting Mahira at the top of this episode. And when Shay asks him who he's texting,
He
he
lied.
doesn't tell her. Right.
He says no one. Like, yeah. He was. It's adorable, right? Like, it's adorable because he is okay. He is having a relationship with Mahira that I do not think she is having with him.
Well, yeah.
That's what I wait a minute. You said it well, like you saw something
No, I
there.
said because no, it's
Oh,
not. I just thinking about at the end of the episode when she texts him, we need to talk, right? But bless his heart, he has no idea. He's sheltered. He's
yeah,
been homeschooled for so long. He doesn't really understand relationships outside of just his family.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he knows it's attraction. I think it's, and I don't know if he's
Uh-huh.
attracted to her or
Hmm.
attracted to being in his brother's shoes. Like, this is another way that he's wearing his brother's jacket, right? Like,
Right.
and I think that's so, it's so sad because it can only end tragically, and
Yeah.
I think the last that we heard, as he's texting back and forth and he's cropping his brother out of her picture, he told Shay a lie when she said, she, like, basically, she's like, she doesn't like you, right? She liked your brother, not you.
Yeah.
And he's like, she sent
Yeah.
me a selfie, and so this, I'm saying, this is two lies he told her.
Right.
She said he sent a selfie, and she shows a picture that he has cropped his brother out of their picture. It's just,
Right.
you just know that the heart is getting ready to get crushed like nothing else with him, and it's again, it's so sweet to
Mm-hmm.
see. But Shay is having some issues this the episode. We get to see a little bit more about
Mm-hmm.
her, and her father came up in one of the previous episodes, and we meet him now.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think about Shay's father?
Well, first of all, I was so excited when the trailer, when they do the recap at the beginning of the episode, and it showed her telling Edward, "Don't ask about my dad." I was like, "Oh, great, we're gonna finally find out about her dad." And
Mhm.
he wasn't what I was expecting him to be. I
Yeah,
didn't realize I thought he's going to be like, okay, like some drunk guy who comes in and beats up, like some abuse or something, right? But it just turns out that he doesn't encourage his daughter to follow her dreams, and he has different plans for her.
yeah.
So he definitely wasn't what I was expecting. But I want to shout out my classmate, Ayas, who plays her father. I was so glad to see him pop up on camera. It's always good to see
Oh,
my
nice.
MTV family on the screen and in the theater. So congrats on
And
that.
that's
But yeah.
I felt like he was doing the story thing. Like that's
Hmm.
he has a story. First, Shay has a story that she's telling herself about her father,
Hmm.
right? And what their relationship is. And then I think that he's telling his story about the kind of daughter that he wants. And and you can see that he is completely supportive of her. So there's love there for sure. You can see that. It
Hmm.
doesn't seem like you said, I was expecting like a weird absentee type dad experience, but he seems super engaged with her. But
Yeah.
he is trying to it reminds me of when you would hear about parents trying to parent real quick in these short spans, like you're the
Mm-hmm.
parent that only sees the kid every week, or not even every, maybe less frequent, that you're the summer parent and you're trying to
Hmm.
like change everything or shift everything, or you're overdoing it. And I
Hmm.
feel like he knows the influence he has on her, and I would say abuses that influence by getting her to do what he thinks is best for her. And what we're getting at is that she's really into roller derby, really into roller derby, and he in a conversation convinces her to give it up and to try to golf because there's more future in golf. And so it's clear that he does not see her, right,
Hmm.
for who she is and who she's emerging to be. The stories you tell, what story you telling about yourself, what stories are people telling about you that you just jump into their story, like I'm going to be, it's my story but I'm going to jump in and be the co-star, or I'm going to let you direct my story. So it's interesting right now. And so Edward calls her out on that,
Hmm.
like your dad is, he's not great, like he's not great. And you fighting these part of, she's a daddy's girl. You can see them fighting words
Yeah.
popping up. So yeah, I see the little tension brewing in their relationship, and he also brings into question their friendship. Like it's weird that this boy is sleeping on your floor, and that seed planted now makes her think there's something wrong with what we're doing.
Yeah.
The stories we tell,
Hmm.
stories we tell. Yeah. So that's Edward and our sweet little friendship. There's friction there. There's friction
Hmm.
in the friendship. And I
Um,
believe the episode ended with Mahira. Like she was like, I want to, let's talk, right?
yeah.
When a woman says let's talk, they said it's not a good thing. let's let's talk. I think she's catching that he's having a crush on her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's something that's also something so tender to be said that he's still having this conversation with his brother who
With
is
his
no
brother.
longer
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, his brother is because and you think about that connection beyond a physical connection. Have you ever you've had a I know I've had a conversation with someone who's not with me. Like I can hear what they
Oh,
would
for
say or
sure.
think about something, and so there's a part of that we're seeing it on the screen, and we see the brother show up on the screen, and it's like, oh man, this poor little boy. But we do that all the time, right? Who's
Hmm.
speaking into your head? Like that's a question that you have to ask. One of my favorite stories about that, when I first started studying truth, one of my teacher's name was Reverend Dolores McMillan,
Hmm.
and Reverend Mac was trying to share with us about meditation and listening to the still small voice. And I said, so which voice is the still small voice? And she said, how many voices are speaking up there? How many people are up in there? And I mean, we laughed and giggled about that a little bit, but that was deep for me. Like, I could think of a lot of voices that are in my head that are whispering in my ear about something or another that I'm entertaining. So so yeah, that part is a real thing. Like, it is,
Mm-hmm.
his brother had a strong influence over him, and he is still present in his mind. But again, it's almost like, but who is this person that's in my mind?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a familiarity and there's a strangeness to it. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty interesting. But yeah, think about that. That's something to think about for yourself. Who's speaking into your mind? What are the voices that you hear? Do you hear your mom, your parents, some random teacher, or maybe somebody that you randomly met? Sometimes people will say something that will stick with us, and you'll hear that, and sometimes it's a critical voice. And we'll operate out of that criticism. We'll believe it and embody it and listen to it. What
Mm-hmm.
stories are you telling yourself, and what are the voices speaking in your head, speaking in your mind?
Who are the characters in that story?
Hello. Hello.
Okay. Wow.
Yep.
So
Yep.
that brings us next to his auntie, Lacey, her husband John, and Linda, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what we find out in this episode, which is really interesting, like this sister dynamic between Lacey and her sister, who is Edward's mom, the
Mm-hmm.
whole idea that John at first was attracted to her sister, and then he
Right, right, right.
stumbled upon, not stumbled upon, but then I guess the sister was like, I'm not interested, but then he ended up dating and then later marrying Lacey. And so that continues to kind of fortify kind of that separation between the two sisters.
Yeah.
That yeah,
I
that,
mean, her sister, so her sister was doing everything amazing, even capturing the man who eventually became your husband.
mm-hmm.
You know, was he always holding a torch for getting the other sister? Was holding, like, holding a torch for the other sister? Like, I got
Mm-hmm.
the consolation prize.
Right. That's got to be something kind of tough to have playing in the back of your head. What
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
story?
What's that?
Um, I did have
But
a
it's so
moment.
but
Yes,
it's so sad though. You mentioned that he felt like there was no room for him,
that's where I was
so
going
we can
next.
totally
Yeah.
see that he is a soul in torment, right?
Mm-hmm.
We could see that when they were just talking about the latest miscarriage, and how it's difficult when it's happening in a woman's body, and like, I can see as a man not wanting to over, like, to feel too much,
Mm-hmm.
because you're trying to make space for her feelings, but she wasn't making room for him at all in
Right.
that, and just them grieving the loss of their children, before they got to be their children.
Yeah.
And so he was already starting with a sense of frustration and hurt and grief, and then
Mm-hmm.
his sister-in-law dies, and I'm sure it just compounded, and then Lacey is all over the place.
Lacey continues to like. I really wanted to be like Team Lacey, but she is kind of like, for me, she's irritating me. Like, I feel like she's being too controlling of how everybody is supposed to process
Mhm,
this event. Like when John
mhm.
came back and talked about how he went to the crash site, and she was so upset because people were having an emotional reaction to it. But
Yeah,
you can't,
yeah.
you have to allow him to have his experience and to be affected by it as well. And so
But
I'm
you can
Team
see how
John.
that how he was. You can see how that clearly had to be some of what he experienced with
Yeah.
when they lost their kid. That he couldn't. It's like, now she's trying to control. She's trying to control how I eat.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to control how we have children. She's trying to control how I grieve, how I support Edward. Like now, I also am now his parent.
Right.
Like it's happening to him too.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been like that in a relationship where you just can't see the other person in it? Um, you know
Mm.
what I mean? You're so self-absorbed that you don't make room for somebody else.
But can people really see that though? Or so this would be a hindsight thing. Like if you look back.
Hindsight, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
okay,
think in
okay.
hindsight,
Yeah, in
yeah.
hindsight,
Looking
okay.
back and it's like, oh, okay, I see how this was all about me. I had someone tell me that you say, but it's not about you a lot. I was like, no, I don't. Yes, I do to this person because they made everything I said about them, And so it was like, so I would almost like, but this is not about you. You know what I mean? This is really me talking about me, but this is not about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's yeah, confession
Mm-hmm.
session. Yeah, it is. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Kwame asked the
But yeah,
question. Kwame, he says, while you do not think he's making the others uncomfortable and triggering them by bringing up the crash site and his experience, I don't. I feel like everybody. You can only be triggered by what you allow yourself to be triggered by, for one, right? But I think that he should be allowed to be a part of the grieving, just like they're a part of
yeah,
the grieving group. um,
yeah.
and so I think he should be allowed to talk about it in the same way that they're allowed to talk about it. So that's how I see it. How do you see it?
I think that what he's saying is probably very triggering. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're healing, you need to be triggered. You need to deal with the things that are coming up. It is part of the healing process in any way. It's kind of like if I had a pain in my arm and something hit it, I know that the healing process is still happening because I bumped up against something. So if you bump up against something that somebody says and it hits you emotionally, then that gives you an opportunity to deal with those emotions. So I think that for sure, um, that he has a space to do that, and it's okay that it's uncomfortable. Sometimes your grief, your issues, your challenges will make other people uncomfortable around you, and that's but as her but there's no room for him to feel that. Like I think that there's no room was probably like talk about his story.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know his backstory, right? We know a little bit about their story, but
Mm-hmm.
um but whatever it is, he's ready to not be he's ready to have space for himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you see this coming up, so he's being triggered by not being able to even have space, I think, to share what's going on. And I don't think it's triggering Edward, right? I think that for
Mm-hmm.
Edward, he seemed like it was helpful to him to be able to have some closure in the sense that his family was not still in that field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I hear you, Kwame. You do have to read the room, but they're all being highly inappropriate to one another. So it's like it's like go for it.
Yeah, they're all kind of like, this is the messiness of grief, right? Like that's one thing this show is showing. It's a mess in such a masterful
Yeah.
way.
But it
All right.
ends though, like
Mhm,
that. Just their their
mhm.
their arc ends in this story with a beautiful love scene, right, where they come together, and it ends with him saying, "I'm leaving." I mean, he went to make space for himself.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, like Lacey, do you have an issue where you push people away? Is that something that's going on inside of you that you've probably had going on for quite some time
Hmm.
because you
Hmm.
never healed that trauma of being in your sister's shadow in some way?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. It's
Um,
like a lot of shows are dealing with this. Like, I mean, childhood trauma is a very easy thing to write into a story, right? But healing it though, like I've been seeing like stories talk about trying to heal that. Mm-hmm.
mhm.
Yeah. But the parent, so we have the couple dynamic. We got Dee Dee. So we don't. Dee Dee now is so I don't want to confuse the episodes.
Okay, go ahead.
Dee Dee in the way she is releasing her anger.
Yes, she was still doing it this episode. The hammers.
where she is hammering the wall. Like it is, I mean, that she is hammering that wall is my favorite part of her. It is I like there are people who bottle stuff up, and she definitely is someone who is polished, poised, and you can see the chinks in the armor now. You can see her getting raw and gritty, but it's like I'm the one that's gonna bring the cupcakes to the grief group. Like I'm gonna be that together that I can think of what are we gonna have as a sweet treat. Like that's who she is,
Mm-hmm.
and she's also the woman that is so angry as she's looking over her finances and looking over the mess her husband left her, that she takes a hammer to the wall, that you can see that it is happening where that hammer hits the wall and all these holes in their family portrait wall.
Which is such a great piece of symbolism,
Yeah,
right? Their
yeah,
family portrait wall, and it's got all these jacked up hammer holes. Like, what a beautiful just symbol.
yeah, yeah,
And so, the really
yeah.
beautiful thing that we discover in this episode is so this day is her anniversary, the anniversary for her and Charlie. And
Mhm.
so she gets a package of a bottle of champagne. And we see that when she went to the grief garage sale, which we didn't even talk about the grief garage sale, how that was such a
Oh, the
wonderful.
grief garage sale.
Hmm. So at the
Yeah,
grief garage sale, she decides that she's going to give the bottle of wine to no, who was it, to Sam and his wife,
yeah.
right? And
Sam and his
Sam's like,
wife.
wait a
Uh-huh.
minute, do you know how much this wine is? This champagne is? And it was $3,500. And she was like, you know what? I'm gonna take that back. And that's why I love Dee Dee, because I feel like I'd be like, I'm so sorry. You know what? Let me just hold that and I'm gonna give you something else. Like she is every woman, the part that's the
Yeah.
messy part and the part where you try to pull it together.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Dee Dee is my girl. And just the way that she, like I said, she's grieving her husband with anger, and
Hmm.
even the anniversary gift pissed her off and warmed her heart at the same time,
Hmm.
like, oh,
Hmm.
this is some love coming that was already coming my way, but he lied to me and we ain't have money,
Right.
he's delivering stuff, and now this wine is all expensive, this champagne is expensive, we don't have the money. Yeah, it was just like she just is a swirl of emotions.
Hmm.
And her daughter, um I'll tell you one thing about being in your 20s, and I'm not too far from there. But one thing about being in your 20s is that you really are in the space of being self-absorbed. Like, as you have discovered yourself as a real being that is now making an impact in the world, it's like an obsession with it, and you are so obsessed with yourself. And her daughter is literally getting on my nerves. Like she's making me want to, like, but then she'll do something that's really sweet and endearing. But her insistence on fleeing
Hmm.
and getting away, it's like, what are you running from, or what are you running to? I still don't understand her story. But her mother said, I need you to stay. Like that
Hmm.
part just was so real. And ultimately she decided not to go, but the daughter decided not to go.
Hmm.
But it just, I don't know. She
But
made me
come to
angry. She's not on my happy
really?
list right now.
Oh, come on, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. Let's redeem her. Okay, okay. Here's an option. I'm going to offer this. Come to find out, she ordered the wine for her mom from
But
her
but
dad.
see that
Mm.
that didn't endear me. To me, that's like,
No, okay,
I don't. Why couldn't you find the gift for me for our anniversary? You
okay.
know what I mean? Like, what did
Hmm.
that wine mean? She just went and bought an expensive gift to me. And mind you, the daughter, it's not the daughter's fault, right? It is that
Hmm.
her husband put that
Hmm.
task in his daughter's hand. Like
Yeah.
that made me mad at her. And then for Zoe, I just feel like whatever secret she's holding on to, because I feel like she has a secret too.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
why is she not sharing that with her mother? And maybe that's why she wanted to run away. I'm not sure, but I guess we're gonna see how that unfolds.
I'm really thinking, like, does she have a secret?
I feel like she has a
You
secret.
feel like I
Like,
can't
why are
wait to, I
you?
can't wait to find out, like, what is it then? Like, that's wow. Right. Kwame's like,
Mm-hmm,
hmm.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is yeah, that dynamic, and it's like I said, it's for someone coming from that space, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
because you think you know everything, and you're self-absorbed, and you're supposed to be, right? It is the season of your
Mm-hmm.
life for that. And it's okay, but it is difficult to watch at a space where you need to come up higher and be in a better supportive space. I mean, let me just preface that what I am truly team Dee Dee. So, I'm looking out for Dee
Right.
Dee. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yes.
it's yeah, shout out to the people popping in on Instagram. I see you guys. We're over on
Hey,
YouTube,
Wendy.
Shamika
Wendy, the acting
Chronicles.
coach. Yes, come to youtube.com/Shamika Chronicles. You can join the conversation, type in the chat, talk to us, let us know what you're thinking about Dear Edward on Apple TV Plus. So
Mhm.
when I thought about the title of this week's episode, folklore, the one storyline that it was very clear and obvious to me was with Adriana and Bex and Kojo when
Yeah.
Kojo tells that beautiful story about the king and the queen,
Their
right?
story gives me anxiety. Like it's like it's you like it's a ticking clock. It's a ticking clock on it.
Yeah.
But they are just adorable together. They're
Hmm.
adorable together. And so when she has a bad what was it that sent her to the woods? Um,
I was trying to
Something happened with the campaign, right?
because she said that she was going to lower mortgages and everybody was calling her a socialist and her
Oh, right.
campaign
Because they,
strategist. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they found a video from her college graduation. Shout out to UPenn, my alma mater that they have on the show. So they were they showed her speech, and it was very very it's the words for sure coming out of a young person, an idealist, and they're using it against her now. So she fled. I told you fleeing is her thing, or at least is in her to get away. And so they go away, and they are having just the cutest little couple time, the three of them
Hmm.
together, and it's beautiful. And then he tells a story over s'mores, which he
Hmm.
thinks are weird, and
Right.
discovers they're tasty.
Do you like s'mores? Just sidebar. Do you like
I
s'mores?
do.
I'm not
I
a big
when
s'mores
I
fan.
go to you would like my s'mores. Let me tell you.
Okay. I'll try
Sometimes
them.
I use Hershey's chocolate, and sometimes I use other chocolates. I've made
Mm.
s'mores with peanut butter cups. I've made s'mores with what do you call it? Toffee chocolate. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
It just seems like it's
There's a
so sweet.
it is, but you know what, people do too much with it. Like you put in you do a middle size marshmallow,
Okay.
and you don't do the graham crackers that also have sugar on top of those too. And it's
Okay.
sweet. You're not supposed to be eating a bunch of s'mores. You're supposed to be
Okay.
having a s'more.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
A s'more.
Mhm.
It is
Mhm.
sweet as all get out. Terry
Yeah.
said, "Yum." Yes. Um, yeah. The camping trip was really really special,
Mhm.
and it was quiet, and it was intimate, and it was really Kojo spilling his heart. Um, and I loved so the scene essentially is that she said that we're having a campfire, and so Beck says, let's you should be telling a story. So he
Mhm.
tells a story of a prince, a queen, and this queen who is running away from the he makes it all up where it's like essentially he's running away from the campaign, and that he should she essentially should go and be in this kingdom with the king, right? And it's a beautiful story. I mean, I'm butchering it, but it's so beautiful. Shamika, you might be able to retell it a little bit better than me, but it was so beautiful.
Yeah, but basically, he wanted her to come live in his kingdom, and she says, "Well, how come the king can't move to the queen?"
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, they're both
So
gonna
that's where they
be
are
torn.
now. It's
Hmm.
Yeah, it's like we clearly there is a beauty in their relationship. There is, something deep that they have
Mm-hmm.
found in one another. And it's like, what are we going to do about it? And he has his kingdom in Ghana. He
The
has,
king of porta potties.
the king of porta potties,
Yes.
he is proud of his work. And I can feel that he built a business. What is he going to do there in Los Angeles? I mean, in New York? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? What would he do besides be with her? And not that he couldn't discover something, but I know that'd be my question of like
Mm-hmm.
I love my life there. I love my culture there. Like what talking about folklore. Like this is my culture. And
Yeah.
but oh my God, the line to end all lines
What's
is
that?
when she said he said, "I will make you queen of Ghana," and she said, "I thought they had a democratic structure." He said, "I would have a coup for you,
For you.
for you.
Well written writers. Well
I
done,
would have a coup.
writers.
I would. Oh, only for you would I
Yes.
have a coup." I swooned. I
Mm-hmm.
swooned. So
Yeah.
sweet. They're just they're so freaking adorable. It's like, how you
Yeah.
have a show where it's just a love story that's your favorite.
Mm-hmm.
If any of you ever watch This Is Us, you all, you know which relationship I'm talking about. That's just your favorite, and it's just impossible to not love them together. And this couple, I don't know how. I know that somehow they have to end up together. They just seem so destined for one another. And it's just like, how is that going to all work out? It's exciting to watch. And I'm concerned about Bex though.
I'm very concerned about Bex.
I'm concerned about these children need to be in therapy. So the my biggest concern about her is watching this happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so Adriana is definitely a surrogate mother for her right now. Like she
Yeah.
is, definitely in that space, and he's getting ready to take her away from everyone and everything that she knows. And this uncle is just she's just getting to know this uncle. It's not like
Yeah.
they have this deep relationship. She loves him because her mother loved him, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this was her uncle that lived thousands of miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just concerned about her, and I'm concerned about him taking her to Ghana, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm which makes me think that may be what compels him to stay. But I love that Adriana said, like, I get that one story is that I go to be with you,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the story of you coming to be with me?
Yes.
And he said something that was interesting at the end of that, which is, I didn't write this fairy tale. He
Yep.
said, it's just a fairy tale. I didn't write it. And I'm thinking, I want to know more about that, sir. I want to know more about what are you saying there, sir?
Mm-hmm.
That there is no other way. Like I need to know more about that. It was a real sweet way to end it, but it didn't tell me a lot. It didn't tell
Mm-hmm.
me a lot. I don't know if anybody else got that out there watching. What did you think of what Kojo said at the campfire?
I thought
That's
he
if you
was
got to
just,
talk about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was just saying that there are norms in his culture that doesn't allow a man to follow a woman, but rather the woman is supposed to
Mm,
follow and be led by the men. But today in this millennium, he's like, I am open to it, but I didn't write, you know, that cultural norm. So he's probably
mm,
torn. Like he could probably do it, but the elders, the people in his family, be like, what are you doing? You don't do
mm.
that. So they're both kind of
And-
torn.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, and for sure, she's not finished, right? It's not
Oh
like
no.
this story ended her.
Hmm.
It just gave her a real dose of politics.
Yeah.
You had that high moment, now you're having a low. And it seems like if she has a low, she wants to run, right? The low moment with the
Hmm.
guy and that called in, the family that was having the crisis at the first episode.
Yeah.
She wanted to quit politics because of that low moment.
Hmm.
And I think about that sometimes, about, what do you do when you're at your lows? Like, do you kind of give up? Like, this, what's the story you're telling yourself? Sometimes it's
Hmm.
like, this isn't for me. right?
Yeah.
Because it's hard. And I say all the time when I'm teaching that you can do hard things. You
Yes.
know, you can do hard things, but you got to know that that's a story you have to tell yourself. Isn't our storytelling ability so powerful? Like
Mm-hmm.
we really tell a story. And you can ask yourself too the question of, who are you in your own story? Who are you in your own story? Are you directing the story? Are you writing the story? Are you starring in your
Mm.
story?
Are you the victor or the victim?
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. It's important to be aware of that. And literally no judgment, just to be like, you know what? I am a co-star in my story right now. Just just be observant of that.
Mm-hmm.
What part are you playing? Because that's important to know. And because sometimes you could be so frustrated because somebody is wanting something out of you, right? But in
Mm.
reality, it's like you've empowered them, right, to
Mm-hmm.
direct you. And
Yeah.
he said, I'm a victor. I'm a victor. That's right. Who are you in your story?
All right,
I've been
Terry.
all the characters.
Mm-hmm. For
I've
sure.
been all of my story for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean like all at one time. I mean, I remember specifically being, not even a co-star. Like I think I'm an extra. I think I'm an
Oh
extra in this
no.
joint. I don't even
Oh
have
man.
a
An extra in your own life.
in my
Oh.
own life. I have an extra in
Oh
my own life.
man.
I have felt
Mm.
that before for sure.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it takes some time to shift. This was a good episode. And I think that it
Mm-hmm.
planted a lot of seeds for, you can see the legs of this show, that there's
Yeah.
so many different things to still discover in these characters.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, this episode, like we said, talked about folklore, and we really examined the idea of story. What story, and in the vein of conscious conversations where we have deep conversations. What story are you telling in your life? Where are you in that story, in your own
Mhm.
story? Just giving us an opportunity to examine it within ourselves as we watch the stories unfold on Dear Edward, and then we can take a moment to go inside and look at our own lives. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thanks for rolling with us today. This has been so
Yes.
cool. I am. When I talk about the creator of this show and how wonderful his stories are, like I just, I'm almost don't like watching him real time because I've enjoyed binging his shows. But I mean, this is the way I
Yeah.
watch Parenthood. It's the way I watch the Friday Night Lights. I don't think I got into that show until it was over. But
Mm-hmm.
man, what a ride! So I'm grateful
Yep.
for being able to go on the ride and just enjoy good storytelling. So
Mm-hmm.
good. Again, just kudos. I know that there are lots of things in the works for you, and I know that the right yeses are coming your way, and the
Oh, thank you.
and the right works are getting into your lap, and it's just another
Mm-hmm.
opportunity for you to grow and keep booking work that matters and that makes you
Mm-hmm.
feel good, that stretches you as an artist.
Yeah.
It's your time, girl. It's your
Ooh,
time.
I receive it. I'm gonna walk right on in it. Yes.
Yes.
So we have two more episodes. No, wait, three more to go. Right. So episode 8, 9, and 10 is only 10 episodes for this season. So yeah, we will be back next week, Wednesday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, talking about Dear Edward, which is a wonderful show on Apple TV Plus. So we hope that you will come back and join us, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. Come join the conversation. Let's get deep and let's expand our consciousness. So thank you
Yay.
all so much for coming, and we will see y'all next week.
Next week.
Namaste.
Everybody be blessed.
Let's see, go
Bye.
here. Boop. There. Okay, let's see. Where's IG? Bye, IG. Did I do that one? Did I do this one? Like hands everywhere. And